Right now, there is a lot of pressure on the jobs market, and it's probably feeling pretty intimidating if you're about to re enter it. But don't worry, because my next guest is the jobs guru, and he's here to guide you through these, well, let's be honest about it, rocky times. His real name is James Innes, and he joins me now. James, I'm so happy that we've got you on the show. I mean, you are the star of national television, all over social media, helping people at the minute, James. So, I mean, there's so much we could talk about at the moment, but how about your top tips, okay, for someone who's just been made redundant in this current climate?
My top tips, well, good afternoon, Ady. My top tips are someone who's just been made redundant in the space of time we've got. Let's focus down on it. I think the first thing I'd say to people is, this is what I've encountered recently. Obviously, it's been quite a boom time for me coping with, all these people out of work, is mindset. Don't get too hung up on the fact that you have lost your job. I've seen lots of people really down in the dumps about it, thinking it reflects on them. You haven't been made redundant. Your job has been made redundant, yeah? Because of this coronavirus crisis. You're most certainly not the only person who's going to have a great big gap in their career and therefore on their CV this spring and summer. Recruiters and potential employers will understand that. So do get your head around that. And I think beyond that, I think you need to be absolutely fighting the good fight. So you need to be doing everything you possibly can to get yourself a new job, bearing in mind it's a massively saturated job market. So we could go on and talk a bit about, what to do CV-wise, etc. But also do bear in mind the possible plan B as well. Do you need to think, you mentioned it earlier, do you need to think about maybe a change in career path even, completely. I know lots of people have been reevaluating massively as they've been stuck at home, in the garden or on their balcony, whatever. So do think about a possible plan B.
Now, that's really interesting, isn't it? A possible plan B. I mean, if you do have to change careers or industries, what would be your advice there, James?
Okay. I was talking to a guy just yesterday, 25 years in golf course management and maintenance, and he's now embarking on a career in health and safety in the construction industry. I mean, that is a radically different path he's taken there. Out of necessity, the first thing to do is a skills audit. Sit down and think, right, what actually can I do? Okay, I've been in one area and not all of it will apply somewhere else, but what am I good at? And not just what are you good at, but what do you enjoy as well? That's vital. Sit down and say, what it makes it worth getting out of bed in the morning, apart from the paycheck at the end of the month. What is worth getting up for? What do I enjoy doing and what am I good at doing? And then see what that might lead on to. Then, of course, you need to set about getting the tools together. So a major overhaul will be necessary of your CV. Your CV will be set up for one line of work. You need to radically change it to cope with another line of work. Obviously, your letter as well. How are you going to explain your change in career to a recruiter? Well, at the moment, not much easier than usual, coronavirus crisis. And be open-minded as well. Keep your options open. Don't try to limit yourself too much. I said this guy is doing health and safety in construction because he'd already taken a health and safety qualification, and that to set him on that path. If you've just been made redundant and you're thinking, right, change of direction, then do keep your options open. Don't limit yourself, particularly with such a saturated jobs market. Network. Talk about, connect with friends, former colleagues, see if anyone knows anything, and be patient. Don't rush it. It's vital that you kick off a changing career with the right role. You don't want to step off on the wrong foot.
James, I love this. I'm feeling positive already. I'm happy with my job, but
Don't say
even I'm looking at thinking, right, what else can I do? I mean, what about with job security? Okay, for those that have got jobs, if you're worried about job security, is there anything that you can do to almost prepare yourself for the worst?
Gosh, yeah, no, that's a good one. I mean, job security, the phrase job security, often bandied about, but does it really exist anymore? I mean, it's not what it was 20 or 30 years ago, that's for sure. When we're living in an increasingly uncertain and radically competitive economy, many industries under threat because of this pandemic, of course. So, what can you do to secure yourself? Well, I mean, or prepare yourself for the worst. Yeah, certainly do get your CV sorted out. Do get ready for the possibilities that you might find yourself out of work. Absolutely. And if you actually want to retain your current job, then do continue working at your hardest. Even if you're working from home, I know some people have taken it too far. There's been a few people burning out, etc., because they're finding that working from home actually isn't just slacking off and watching Netflix. It does actually involve working quite a bit, and people are, no. So this is the image that people get when you're working from home. Oh yeah, you're not really working, are you? But actually, there's been quite a few people who have been unable to switch off from work. So get the right balance, but do continue doing your absolute best, certainly, but prepare for the worst.
Now, what about as well? Okay, okay, because it's going to be competitive out there, like you're saying, James. But I mean, how do you make, your CV or your cover letter? How can you kind of stand out from the pack?
Good question. I think they're going to focus on a few big things here, basically, particularly at the moment. Yeah, it is so saturated, the jobs market. The poor recruiters are going to be utterly bombarded. So I would always say, tailor your CV. Don't just send exactly the same CV off to all and sundry. It's something I always say, but it's even more important now in the current market. You don't want the recruiters to feel they're being spammed. Recruiters can tell the difference when someone's actually really applying for the job that they've advertised and they've really made an effort with their CV and their cover letter, and they can tell when you've just sent the same thing off to 200 people that day. That makes a big difference. It annoys them, it'll go straight in the bin. The actual content of your CV, I think the biggest advice I'd have to give there is to focus on achievements, not just responsibilities, certainly not just duties. One of the biggest mistakes people make, basically. Talk about what you actually did, what your personal contribution to the organization was, not just what your job description says, because there's often a major disconnect between that and, what you've actually done. And, it sounds silly, but don't fall into make, some of the common mistakes, like having a CV that's 4, 5, 6 pages long, including silly stuff like date of birth, marital status we couldn't care less about. Obviously, spelling, grammar, and typos. And I say obviously, but something like half of all CVs still have them. Half of all the CVs I see have some sort of error in them. That's very annoying for a recruiter. And again, straight into the bin. So bottom line, now more than ever, really important to get your CV absolutely right. Give it the time it deserves. It's going to take some work to get it right, but hopefully you should have some time on your hands at the moment.
James, honestly, I could talk to you all afternoon. There's some excellent advice in here. Please come back onto the show. We've got to get
Thanks
you
a lot,
back
Ady.
on again, James. I mean, in the meantime, though, I want to talk to you about interview. I feel like I'm going to take up all your time this afternoon. So,
Interviews?
yeah,
No, I'm free. I've got a bit of parenting to do later, but I'm free at the moment.
we've got to get you back on, right? We'll get you back on to talk about interviews,
It'll
James.
be a
But
pleasure.
in the meantime, how can people follow you? How can they draw on your expertise in this and this expert information?
The best place probably is to go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Innes. I will spell that. It's a strange Scottish surname, Innes. So yeah, just to youtube.com, stick that slash in, James Innes. Yeah.
James, great to have you on the show. I look forward to speaking to you soon again. James Innes there, aka the Jobs Guru. Now, if you're thinking James sounded familiar, he's on national telly constantly. He's all over social media. Great to have James on the show this afternoon to give us that expert advice on new careers and advice on new jobs.